So on my actual Photoshop technique notes, where I'm going to be starting today is the Lasso Tool, and I'm actually going to be doing the Lasso Tool with Command J and Command T, okay? And then I'll be using Command J and Command T for the Marquee tool as well. So to start us off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my photo booth. Here's my lovely self-portrait I'm going to be using in editing today. Remember, I'm going to actually click. I can either click on the image up here or click down in the Q, the scroll down at the bottom. I'm going to click and drag it to the PS icon so it starts bouncing and my image opens in Photoshop. Okay, now this is how my window opens up. Normally it opens up the same way with the same things open as when I closed it last time. Okay. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm going to copy my background layer as we went over on our last video. Anytime you're editing in Photoshop, I would always copy your background layer so you always have a before and after readily available. So I'm going to click on my background in my layers palette. I'm going to drag it down to the icon next to the garbage can at the bottom of the layers palette. And now you can see I have two different layers, a background layer and a background copy layer. Okay, now today I'm going to be using the Lasso tool. So what I'm going to do is over in my toolbars, remember if your toolbar is not turned on, you can go up to Window and down to Tools and it will allow you to turn your toolbar on. I'm going to go to the Lasso tool. It is the third tool down. As you can see, my quick key on my keyboard would be hitting the L. So I just hit it. If I hold down, you can see there is a lasso tool as well as a polygonal lasso tool, which will create it in a certain shape, and a magnetic lasso tool, which will actually try and read the pixels of your image and can work really nicely if we have a really high contrast image, but we're not going to be using that today. So I'm going to use the lasso tool, and with the actual lasso tool, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select my face. Now I'm not going to take my time in doing this because it's just a demo for you, but feel free to take your time because I will show you how to add and remove items from your selection. So I'm going to click and start dragging. I'm just going to do my head. So you can see I'm down around my chin. I'm just clicking and dragging. This is much easier if you have a mouse. If you don't have a mouse, I would grab one. Okay, now when I actually let go, you can see in my history palette on the right side that I've opened the image, I created a duplicate layer, that was my background copy, and now I've used the lasso tool once. These black and white moving lines are actually showing me what part of my image is selected right now. So if I were to create an edit, like a filter, it would only add it onto that part of my image, okay? So for the lasso tool, what it allows you to do for your notes purposes is it allows you to select a certain part of your image, and then you can only edit that portion of your image. Or in using Command J and Command T, you can actually make duplicates within your image. So that's what I'm actually going to do right now. So I'm going to move on to Command J, and on my keyboard right now, I'm going to actually hit Command J. And I want you to watch my layers palette over here to actually see what happens. So I hit Command J, my black and white lines, moving lines disappeared. But when you actually look over my layers palette, you can see now I have another layer. Okay, and it's titled Layer 1. And you can see with those gray and white boxes behind me that only my face exists in this layer. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to go to the Move tool. That's the top tool in your toolbar. Okay, it looks like a plus sign with 4 arrows on it. You can also hit the letter V on your keyboard to get there quickly. Okay, this is the tool I'm going to use in order to actually move this extra face I've just created. So now I'm going to click on my image. And when I move it, I have another head. Okay? And you can actually see my layers palette and me actually move that image. So I decided to select my entire head. You may decide to select something in the background. You may decide to select and, create another eye or get rid of your nose. That's completely up to you. But the lasso tool allowed you to actually create the shape of what you are selecting versus the marquee tool, which we will be doing next. Okay, so Command J, for notes purposes, will copy whatever I have selected into a layer of its own. So I only had my head selected, so it actually copied my head into a layer of its own. Okay, so now I have two heads. Okay, now I'm going to move on to Command T, and this is how to transform something. So to transform is to change the size or the shape of something. So on my keyboard right now, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to hit Command T. Okay, make sure I'm still on my layer 1, only my head layer. And this box pops up around my new floating head. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click and drag on one of the sides, and it will actually change the shape. It's called transforming my actual face. Okay, now you can see since I dragged it in from the side, it actually distorted my head, so now it's long and skinny. If I don't want to do that, I'm just going to press Command Z real quick, and I'm going to go to the corner over here, and on my keyboard I'm going to hit Shift, and I'm going to drag it so I still have the same proportions. It's not distorted, but yet it's smaller. Okay, maybe I'm going to go even smaller. Oop, distorted a little bit. I'm going to go even smaller so it fits like right over my eyeball. Okay, and then when I'm done, I have to hit Enter or Return on my keyboard, or else I'm stuck in transformation mode. Okay, so now I have a small little me over my closed eye. So what Command T does is it allows you to transform whatever you have selected. It could either change the size of something, it could reflect something, change the shape, etc. Okay, so that is Command T. So this would be a good example of my lasso image. Now, just so you can see for voice and experimenting purposes, I'm on my layer 1 right now, which is just my little head. Let's say I want to put a filter just on that little head. What I could actually do is go up to Filter Gallery at the top. So this is applying something from our former videos, right? And let's say I want to do something fun like a texture. There we go. Mosaic. I want to be a mosaic tile. I'm going to click OK. Now you can see only that filter was applied to the mini-me because it was on that layer. Okay. Now, taking this one step further, let's say I want my mini-me over my eyeball to be in color, but I want the rest to be in black and white. So remember when we were working with the adjustments, what I want to do is I'm going to go up to the adjustments panel up here, and I'm going to click black and white. Now remember, everything in our layers palette works like a sandwich. So over here I'm in my layers palette. Now the black and white is on top of everything. Therefore it affects everything below it. So if I actually click and drag that below my mini head layer, guess what? It only affects what's underneath it, and now my mini head is in color. Okay, so that's starting to work with the lasso tool. Okay, and then Command J and Command T. Okay, and we will do the same saving procedures as we have for the past videos. File, save as. Okay, I don't want to save into my pictures. I'm going to go to Desktop, Mrs. Wendell, Digital, Photoshop Demos, okay, and then I'm just going to change it to Lasso. Remember to change my format to JPEG, and then I'm going to hit Save. Okay, my quality is up to 12. I'm going to hit OK, and now I'm going to Command Quit. I don't need to save as that title. I did a Save As instead. Okay, and now I just like to check if it's in my folder, and I am good to go. So now you are done with your lasso tool.